Welcome to NACTV Reads the News. My name is Val Wilson and I'm one of the many volunteers that help create programming at our station. NACTV can be seen on MTS Channel 30 or 1030, Westman Cable Channel 117, Bell Satellite Channel 592, or online at nactv.tv. These programs are made possible by our many volunteers, staff, advertisers, as well as donations made by you, the viewers. If you are enjoying your NACTV experience, please consider supporting us either by donation or volunteering. You can contact our office at 204-476-2639 or at NACTV at WCGWAVE.ca. So this is Friday, May 21st, 2021. Volume 125, number 43 out of Neepawa, Manitoba, the Neepawa Banner Press, locally owned and operated. So the first headline we are looking at here says the census is behind schedule due to difficulty recruiting, by Kira Patterson, Neepawa Banner Press. If this year's census rollout seemed a little disorganized to you, that could be due to the fact that the government had a hard time recruiting staff in rural areas. Last week, the Banner and Press asked our readers and social media followers whether they had received a census package. From Thursday, May 13th to Monday, May 17th, 85 people responded, with 31.8% not having received their census documents before the deadline of May the 11th. Some of that percentage never received anything at all, while others got theirs after the deadline. About 21.2% of the total respondents never received anything as of the date they replied. The Census Director for the Western Region and Northern Territories, Siri Kanagariha, noted that Neepawa and surrounding areas were a bit behind schedule because the government was having a hard time recruiting enough staff to do the job. We saw this issue in a few areas in the Western region and across the country. It is an issue with rural and remote areas, especially in the West, he explained. Kanagara said he wasn't sure if the lack of applicants was due to people being worried about going to households during the COVID-19 pandemic, or if people weren't looking for work because the government supports providing consistent income, or if people were just too busy this year to take on another job. Because some census packs weren't delivered before National Census Day on May the 11th, Kanagara noted that they are still accepting late completed forms. Some felt the census seemed to be more rushed than usual. This is continued from page A1. Kanagara added that they are keeping track in the system where households receive their census information and are allowing time for those who have received theirs late and still get it done. Some felt that the census was more rushed than their usual this year, with the start date on May 3rd and the deadline only 8 days afterwards. Kanagara noted that this is the same time frame they usually have for the census, adding that if they send them on too early than the deadline, people tend to set them aside and forget about them. A few readers reached out to the Banner and Press noting that no census forms had been distributed to West Park Place, the trailer park in Neepawa, and wondered if they were supposed to be receiving them. Kanagara noted that he contacted the area manager to check on that, and he noted that residents of West Park Place should expect to receive a census form. Due to staffing challenges, we are delayed in some areas and will be collecting data from this location, he confirmed. Census collects data from all households. That includes trailer parks. Those who still haven't received their census information can call the Census Helpline at 1-855-340-2021. And while the census is primarily being done online, residents need to receive a census package before they can complete the online form, because it has a unique access code included. But those who prefer a paper copy of the form can also just call the helpline to request one mailed to them. So there's a nice picture on the front page of a baby fox that were a sight to see near the Patterson farm last week with an estimated 5 kits in the litter. This photo was taken on May 12th as the kit was trying to settle in for an evening nap. And that looks up close and personal. Wildfire is forced home evacuations in Carberry by Aaron Devereaux, Neepawa Banner Press. A wildfire close to Carberry recently forced the community to declare a local state of emergency. On Tuesday, May 18th, more than a dozen homes in the area were evacuated as a grass fire fueled by extreme dry conditions continued to burn. The blaze started on the Canadian Forces Base Shiloh Range just west of Carberry. It is believed to have started due to a lightning strike sometime late Friday or early Saturday as thunderstorms rolled through the area. This is the second major fire to impact the community this year, as one just west of Carberry in early April led to the evacuation of about 20 homes. In the media statement released on May 18th, the municipality of North Cypress Langford reported that 34 individuals, along with nearby livestock, had been evacuated as a precaution. The main concern was related to the threat of a blaze possibly breaching a fire guard that was located northeast of CFB Shiloh. Social media posts from both the town of Carberry and municipality of North Cypress Langford requested residents within the area to run their sprinklers in order to alleviate dry conditions. On Wednesday, May 19th, municipal updates indicated that the fire has been maintained through the day with supports from water bombers. Conditions were, as of the 19th, looking favorable for a direct attack by firefighters on the ground, stating either on late Wednesday or early Thursday. We continue on with a story. Harris Pharmacy takes part in a vaccine pilot project by Kira Patterson, Neepawa Banner Press. A Neepawa-based pharmacy was chosen as one of 5 pharmacies to take part in a pilot project distributing Moderna COVID-19 vaccines. Heather Toderick, pharmacist and owner of Harris Pharmacy, stated that the province contacted them on Wednesday, May 5th, to find out if they were interested in taking part in the pilot project. There was no thought involved. It was like, yes, we'll do it, said Toderick. The 5 pharmacies for the project also included one in Dauphin, Brandon, and 2 in Winnipeg. Toderick said she's not sure exactly how the vaccine task force selected which pharmacies to use, but she said they were glad to be one of the chosen locations. We were pleasantly surprised, she expressed. We are not sure how they made their selection. They didn't really say that. They just said, high performance with AstraZeneca. But I think everybody did well with it, so I'm not sure that was their only deciding factor. After getting the call on May 5th, things happened quite quickly. The vaccines arrived on the 7th and received 100 doses, Toderick noted. We administered a few on the 7th, and then we did the rest on the 10th and the 11th. We had a 5-day window, so we had to be done by Wednesday, May 12th, as what we were told by the government. The limited timeline had to do with the length of time Moderna vaccine can be kept out of a freezer. Toderick noted that she and other pharmacists were aware of some of their customers who didn't feel comfortable traveling to a super site to be vaccinated. So they kept those individuals in mind when booking appointments. She added that the rest of the appointments booked up very fast. We did field quite a few phone calls, It doesn't take long for word to get around. The pilot project was wrapped up now, and Toderick said they haven't heard yet what will come of it. I think the task force is giving us the option to show that a pharmacy is a viable way to get the vaccine out there. That it is efficient and convenient, she stated. All we heard was that the task force, or whoever they were speaking to, was very happy with how things went with all of the pharmacies, and that they would be meeting with them, and we would know something going forward. As of Tuesday, May 18th, Toderick noted that they hadn't heard any more from the government. We're just crossing our fingers that we will be contacted to do further doses, and if we do, we will get the message out there, she stated. And on to page A3, travel and entertainment. We have a headline, local students participate in a Canada-wide competition by Casper Warenhand, Neepawa Banner Press. 2 Brookdale students are hitting the nationals. Haley Dennis and Emily May, as the story is written and put into print, are participating in the Canada-wide Science Fair. The fair is Canada's largest annual event, bringing together youth interested in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, called STEM. Finalists for the Canada-wide competition are selected through regional fairs across the nation. Dennis and May were selected as 2 of the top 4 in the 2021 Western Manitoba Science Fair and placed as runners-up for the Best of Fair title with their entry, How Nutritious is Our Produce? In the project, the duo measured the level of BRIX, dissolved solids, especially sugars, different types of plant produce. To do this, they used an optical device called a refractometer and tested Brix levels in fruit as it ripened and organic versus non-organic produce. This year's Canada-wide Science Fair is being held virtually from May 17th to 21st out of Ottawa. Along with Emily Robb and Vincent Massey School and Genevieve Pierce of École des Sources, Dennis and May are representing Western Manitoba in the competition. As a part of the fair, the group will experience a virtual tour of the Charlton University escape rooms, STEM exhibits, tours of Ottawa, and other social events, in addition to judging and public viewing of the entries. In total, there are 375 finalists participating in this year's fair. The awards ceremony is scheduled for Thursday, May 20th. That would be tonight. Well, congratulations, ladies. God is not unjust. He will not forget your work and the love you have shown him as you have helped his people and continue to help them. Hebrews 6:10. And then we have the NACTV schedule. All programs are repeated every 12 hours and listed time during the night. So if you want more information on that, you can go to the website or pick up a copy of your banner. And on page A4, we have perspectives. And then we have Right in the Center by Ken Waddell. No sense in the census. A story in this week's paper is titled Census Behind Schedule Due to Difficult Recruiting. It says, if this year's census rollout seemed a little disorganized to you, that could be due to the fact that the government had a hard time recruiting staff in rural areas. 85 people responded to us about the census and how it was being rolled out, with 31.8% not receiving the census documents before the deadline of May the 11th. Some of that percentage never received anything at all, while others got theirs after the deadline. About 21.2% of the total respondents never received anything as of the date they applied. Seems like the folks at the census office got caught off guard, which is strange, as the census does come along regularly every 4 years. They might be able to blame COVID-19 for the problems, but it's not as if they didn't have warning. After all, we have been struggling with C-19 for nearly 16 months. Some of the concerns we heard were that the census workers weren't properly identified when they came calling, and some were just pulling up in vans or cars and going to people's doors without much explanation. With C-19 rules and fears, along with all the issues with strange vehicles running around in rural areas, it is no wonder some people were annoyed or apprehensive. It's always amazing how ill-prepared governments are for rolling out their programs. The communications people at all levels of government seem to think that people will just know what's going on. Admittedly, the census people did place an ad in local papers. But by coming out on May 7th, it was a little late to inform public about a May 11th deadline. Somebody dropped the ball on that score for sure. Don't get me wrong, the ad was appreciated, but if they would ask any experienced newspaper person or advertiser, they would know it takes more than one ad to get the majority of people in the know for an event or a product. And an ad has to be out for more than 4 days ahead of the event or deadline. I am sure that they also use some social media, but there are limitations with that approach too. Not everyone by any means looks to social media. Sorry, guys. In case the government hasn't heard, not everybody is on social media, and certainly not all the time. Some people don't have good enough internet access to even be bothered with social media. And various levels of government have been promising better cell service and better internet service for decades. And now, quite frankly, those services are still pretty sketchy in many areas. And while I'm on the kick, I will keep going. People will post on social media and get 40, 50, or 60 responses. That's nice and is a helpful way to spread the message. But please understand that 40, 50, or 60 responses when the Rivers banner can be accessed by 4,400 people each week, and the Neepawa banner press is accessed by 25,000 people within the region each week. To get a message across, one needs to use the newspaper, social media, radio, and TV, and need to do it multiple times. Advertising pays off, and most businesses, but organizations fall short of their potential by not getting their message out soon enough, far enough, and often enough. I find it fascinating how good communications can be and how bad they can be at times. We think we have really progressed. Here's an illustration of how we aren't up to date as we might think we are. In 1900, a grain-based farm organization with its headquarters in Winnipeg ran into a problem. They decided they needed to bring in their president to deal with the issue. The problem was the president lived on his farm in north of Regina. They sent a telegram at about 3 p.m. The telegraph operator typed out the message and sent it by horse and buggy to the farm with orders to wait for the president to come back with him to the local train telegraph station. He did just that and got on the next train. He was in Winnipeg early the next morning for the meeting. Not bad for 120 years ago. Is there a lesson in organization there somewhere? Thank you, Ken. And then we have a Homebodies by Rita Friesen. Just sayings. After speaking with two of my sisters last week, a lovely custom we have developed, I got to wondering about the sayings we'd heard while in our parental home. There is a 15-year gap between the oldest and the youngest, so it would not have been surprising if the remembering had been very different. The one that came quickly to mind for all three of us was one that irked and annoyed at the time. When giving us a negative answer to a request, usually an outing, our father would ask, "What difference will it make 40 years from now?" There are some instances where we still feel that it would have made a difference to our teen years. Thankfully, we all grew into adults who like who we are. There are 4 girls in the family, and one in particular bent the rules, sometimes made her rules and got away with it. Yes, there was a time in her early childhood when she had a prolonged illness, but she recovered. And when I asked my father how come she always got what she wanted, the answer was, "'Tis a poor home that does not have one to the manner born." Knowing that Dad was a farmer, a scholar, a teacher, a lay preacher, and philosopher, a born educator, avid reader, and one who memorized poetry and appreciated Shakespeare, I see that quote likely sprung from Hamlet. I am native here and to the manor born, so my mistake, believing for years that one was entitled to privilege of a position. To the manor born is very different, also from Shakespeare, and one my older sister recalls, and I don't. What mad, quite mad, hast thou 3 sisters too? Dad's morning call was, "Up and at 'em," while our mother summoned us with, "Rise and shine." Many of our mother's quotes had to do with virtual hard work. Patience is a virtue, simple and concise, while Dad would complete the saying, and after a full day's work, Mum's morning comes early as a signal for the day being done and off to bed. One I disliked but used on my family: when doing a thing, do it right. Things done half are never done right. Most heard when I was learning to sew and had to open and reopen a seam or zipper placement. Also applicable to gardening, cleaning, well, any task assigned. I did modify that for mine. Just do your best. That guilted some of them into trying harder than they wished to do. It may have been from reading or life's lessons, but Dad often opened a conversation with, "How goes the battle?" He truly wanted to know. He was an asker of questions and a listener. This week I was chatting with one of my father's former students, grade 9, late 60s. Dad was born in 1923. He was not young. His health class quote that my friend still vividly recalled, "Going steady is like stepping on an escalator. You are going somewhere." I can and cannot imagine him saying that to his class. Just sayings. And on the next page of Perspectives, we have Yours Faithfully by Neil Stroshine, Faith versus Trust. I have shared this story before, but in light of some things that have taken place in the last few weeks, I feel compelled to share it again. An elderly lady from my first congregation was about to go through major surgery. The procedure was tricky, especially for someone her age. There was a chance, albeit a very slim one, that she might not survive. So, the night before her surgery, I went to the hospital to speak and pray with her. And that's when she told me this story. "Earlier today," she said, "the surgeon came in to see me. We talked about the surgery. He answered my questions. And just as he was about to leave, I said to him, 'Doctor, I need to tell you something. I am putting my trust in you, but my faith is in God. If he wants me to die during surgery, nothing you can do will save me. But if he wants me to survive, there's nothing that you can cause me to die.' My doctor paused," she said, and then said, "And tomorrow before I go into the operating room, I will pray to the God in which we both believe and ask him to guide my hand so that this may be done." I have never forgotten that conversation. It radically changed my view of the faith that I embraced and of how it helps people find a balance between faith and trust. Faith in God and trust in the people with whom we turn for advice and guidance during crisis times. Here's what I learned from this elderly lady. First, there is absolutely no substitute for a deep personal faith in an almighty, all-knowing, and all-powerful God. That was her belief, and it is also mine. That faith has helped me be sane, focused, and grounded in the midst of this many crises I have faced in my life. And it has been a stabilizing force over the past months as I, along with you, have had to adapt an ever-changing world of COVID restrictions. Second, faith allows us to see the giftedness in others. God has given each of us a unique combination of skills, abilities, and talents. He has also given us minds that can absorb information and use that information to learn new skills that we didn't possess when we were born. That's how we learned how to walk, talk, interact with society, and even pass those difficult exams we wrote in high school and college. But no one of us has all the skills and talents we need to be all the things to all people. We were created to live in a community, to lead in areas where we are strong, and to follow in areas where we aren't. Our faith enables us to see where we can lead and where we need to follow. God has given us that gift of discernment and expects us to use it. Third, we displayed our faith in God by trusting those who have knowledge, skills, and talents we lack to do what is best for us and for those we love, especially in these days when they identify a crisis we are facing and ask for our cooperation in helping to mitigate that crisis. Here is where we must ask and answer one important question. By trusting and obeying the advice we receive from doctors, government leaders, and other professionals, are we sinning against God? Beginning next week, I'll share my answer to that question. Observation by Addie Oberlin. "But you promised," the little girl cries. Children want and really need to be able to trust their parents. Many promises are not kept. When the children go through the wild teen years, many parents cannot trust the children. When they are all adults, who in this world can they trust? Do the politicians tell us the truth? What about the media? We watch the news daily and wonder what we can learn and who we can trust. Are they hiding something of the truth? Maybe some of the promises are not kept. Last night I looked up the word trust. There are 170 verses in the Bible that talk about trust or trustworthy. David mentions it many times in Psalms, but the one that stands out for me is Romans 15:13, where Paul tells us, "May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit." May that be our thought for this week. Never tire of a great trail. Oh, we got a picture of the High Life Back 40 multi-use trail park. It has been a popular destination since it opened in Neepawa last fall. Cyclists from all over the province have come to enjoy the challenging bike trails. Photo by Brent Stoven. Letters. By lockdowns based on the wrong information. The Justice Centre challenging the rights of Canadian freedoms under the Charter of the Court of Queen's Bench in Winnipeg provided a medical witness, Dr. Jay Bullard, head of Candham Provincial Lab in Winnipeg. He stated that the PCR test to do nothing other than confirm the presence of a SARS-CoV-2, which are harmless. He and his colleagues found only 44% of PCR test results are actually accurate. The sample has to be grown in a culture to determine if it's COVID-19. The application cycles are run at 40 to 50. Test results above 25 are not actually infectious. Dr. Tam and the Prime Minister Trudeau constantly talk about the number of cases, creating fear and passing it along to the provincial health agencies. Provinces then use those numbers to justify lockdowns, and in some provinces, such as Quebec, Ontario, Alberta, more draconian measures than ever seen in Canada. Hospital capacity should be the basis for any restrictions. There are numerous examples like Sweden, US, states of Florida, South Dakota, that have had fewer lockdowns without caseloads greater than those that have strict lockdowns. Canada may reach herd immunity before anyone has received both vaccines, according to Professor Douglas Allen at Simon Fraser University. There needs to be a cost-benefit policy on how this virus is handled. Karen Lalonde from Oakbank, Manitoba. What is lost can never be replaced. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. Its loveliness increases. It will never pass into a nothingness. By John Keats. Words cannot express my sadness and shock to see the beauty of Neepawa Cemetery being destroyed. Spruce trees that line the roadways have been uprooted. These trees took years to grow, were beautifully and lovingly trimmed and sculptured. Graves were once covered with beautiful flowers are now being leveled to allow more efficient grass cutting. The flowers that made the cemetery a worldwide attraction were meant to be grown in perpetuity with no more. Perpetuity forever. What is now lost can never be replaced. In years past, dozens of tour buses came to Neepawa during the summer, several each day during the Little Italy Festival. I and other people who were tour guides can attest to that. The people on tours were amazed at the beauty of the cemetery, the flowers, the trees, and how well kept it was. The cemetery was one of the highlights of the tours. Some had heard about it from others and wanted it to be sure that it was on their tour. Not only have we lost the beauty of our cemetery, we have lost part of Neepawa's history. By Joan McGilvery, Neepawa, Manitoba. And after that, I am going to skip ahead to an article on page A9. And it says, new trees to be planted at Neepawa's Riverside Cemetery. Around 24 spruce trees were recently removed from the Riverside Cemetery. Town officials say those trees are dealing with beetle infestations and have been taken out to make room for planting of evergreens and other varieties later this year. By Aaron Devereaux, Neepawa Branner Press. Town of Neepawa manager and operations Denise Sagaye said the spruce were all removed at once because they were currently dealing with a combination of tree rot and beetle infestation. He noted it was better to take them all out in one fell swoop as opposed to just removing a few at a time. These trees have been removed, were rotting and at the end of their life. We've also seen some beetles have been attacking a few of them, so we went with regression removal to ensure there was no spread of the infestation, stated Sagaye. We've decided to diversify with about 10 different species of trees right now. That way we'll be a little more protected from beetle and other invasive species attacking them. So if one dies, it's not so painful as losing 25. As well, some of the roots from the spruce had begun to cause damage to a few older gravestones, facilitating their removal. And as for the new trees, Sagaye said they are currently awaiting the arrival of about 20 new evergreens. He stated that those, along with some deciduous trees, will be planted over the course of the summer. Once completed, there would be up to 20 different species of trees within the cemetery. Well, thank you for that. And then we have Helen Drysdale out of Helen's Kitchen. Railway to Churchill. The railway to Churchill was controversial from the start. The proposed alternative shipping route to Europe had been talked about when Manitoba joined Confederation in 1870. Manitobans liked the idea of independence from Eastern Canada. Prairie farmers believed the CPR, which ran across Canada from east to west, was using it to keep the shipping costs of grain high. The farmers would have a greater profit if they could ship their grain via the Hudson Bay route. Sorry. In the past, the route had been utilized for many years by the Indigenous people, the Hudson's Bay Company and their fur traders and Red River settlement people. They already knew that the bay would be open to shipping for 2 months of the year, being closed for the remaining 10 by ice. The railroad had come across Canada quite quickly, so why not to the north? The north had never been surveyed, and most people had no idea of the terrain that would have to be traversed. Political wrangling and the financial difficulties prohibited construction to start, as well as where to put this rail line. The route to the mouth of the Nelson River was much shorter. Wood for ties and piles were available all along the way. However, the line would have to cross the large Nelson River twice. The other route to the mouth of the Churchill River had greater miles of muskeg bog and permafrost. Those that wanted the northern rail line were deemed crackpots, and their vision impossible and impractical. Politicians could not agree to build such a line. In the early years, there were several failed attempts to build a line. In 1908, the Department of Railway and Canals received instructions to carry out surveys for lines between both the Paa and Churchill, and the Paa and Nelson. Mr. John Armstrong, an experienced railroad surveyor, and several groups of men went to the north to survey. In the summer, they fought off the mosquitoes, the black flies, and heat from their canoes, and in the winter, they fought the cold and shortage of food with their dog sleds. In 1909, the survey was complete and the decision was made for Port Nelson. In 1913, the work to build a harbor at Port Nelson did not start well. The Nelson River was a large river that carried a lot of silt because of its great volume of water flows. Ships bringing materials to build the facilities ran aground, and others got caught in the ice before they could get unloaded. An expensive dredge ship, the SS Port Nelson, the largest of its kind in the world, was commissioned and brought in to deepen the harbor. It was soon discovered that the silt came in so fast that no headway could be made. The engineers decided to build an island in the middle of the river, 2 port facilities. and a half-mile-long bridge to connect it to the main line. The construction halted in 1917 due to the war, and after the war, the project was put on hold due to an economic slump. In 1927, 10 years after the project was started, it was decided to complete the project. After reevaluating the ability of this port location, it was decided to abandon the particularly built Port Nelson site as it could not be maintained for the 20th century ships. The Churchill River was deemed a far better location with its naturally deep harbor. Around $8 million had been spent in construction at Port Nelson. Over 100 years later, the SS Nelson is marooned on the partly made island, and the bridge is still present at the site. I am sure those surveyors did not eat very fancy and probably cooked over an open fire. I would think that they would have been able to catch some fresh meat for a tasty supper. Today, in their remembrance, I will feature a grilled meat dish. This Indian chicken is full of bold and spicy flavors. Pen and paper ready? Let's catch this recipe. Spicy Indian chicken. 2 pounds whole chicken. Legs, thigh and leg. You put it in a marinade of 1 cup plain yogurt, 5 cloves of garlic minced, 2 tablespoons of lime or lemon juice, 2 tablespoons of oil, 1 teaspoon of cumin, 2 teaspoons of coriander, 2 teaspoons of paprika, 1 1/2 teaspoon of ground turmeric, 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper or less to taste, 2 teaspoons of fresh ground ginger, and 1 teaspoon of salt. And your method: in a bowl, mix the marinade ingredients together until well combined. Cut slashes in 3 or 4 places on each piece of chicken so that the spices will penetrate. Place the chicken in a marinade and cover and chill for at least an hour and up to 6 hours. Preheat your grill to medium-high. Shake off excess marinade and place chicken on the oiled grill. Sear for several minutes and then turn the chicken over. Once both sides have grill marks and are browned well, turn the grill down and move to a cooler part of the grill and cover. Cook for 20 minutes or until the internal temperature reads 74 degrees Celsius or 165 Fahrenheit. Let rest for 5 minutes before serving. Serve with balsamic rice or naan bread and a side of grilled veggies. Spruce Plains RCMP report by Jacob Stanton, Spruce Plains RCMP. During the week of May 10th to May 16th, Spruce Plains RCMP dealt with 64 police activities. On May 10th, RCMP received a call of a person laying on the side of the highway in the RM of Oakview. Police attended and found the person sober and well. They were just tired from walking. Police provided the person with a ride to Minnedosa, only to receive another call later on that same person was now intoxicated and unable to take care of themselves. The person was taken into custody and then released once sober the next morning. On May the 11th, RCMP responded to a person of domestic assault in Minnedosa. The matter is still under investigation. A found wallet in Minnedosa was turned into the police, which was returned to its owner shortly after. Police received a report of a hit and run in a vehicle in Neepawa. There was insufficient evidence to proceed further. On May 12th, RCMP were dispatched to a residential alarm in Neepawa. Police cleared the house and found everything secure. It was determined that it was set off accidentally by a child in the house. Police received a report of a vandalized vehicle in Neepawa. The matter is still under investigation. Police responded to a commercial alarm in the RM of North Cypress Langford, which also appeared to have been set off accidentally. On May 13th, RCMP received a report of a missing person in Rapid City. After investigation, it was determined that the person reported missing was arrested in another province and was currently in custody. Police received a complaint of a group of people disobeying current public health orders in Neepawa. Police attended, broke up a basketball game, and educated the participants of the current rules and restrictions regarding COVID. Police received a report of theft from a business in Neepawa where there was insufficient evidence to proceed further. On May 14th, RCMP conducted a COVID compliance check in Minnedosa, where all persons were found to be complying with quarantine regulations. Police received a report of a possible vandalism to a vehicle in Neepawa. There was insufficient evidence to further investigate. On May 15th, RCMP responded to a report of property damage to a home and vehicle in Basswood. One person was taken into custody until sober, and the complainant declined to proceed with charges. Police received a report of a break and enter to a home in Minnedosa. After investigation, it was determined that the report was unfounded. On May 16th, RCMP were dispatched to a garage fire in Neepawa. There were no injuries and the fire was not deemed suspicious. It was determined that it was likely caused by a cigarette not put out properly. Police responded to a family dispute in the municipality of Glenella Lansdowne. All parties were spoken to and the issue was resolved without incident. RCMP responded to 29 traffic enforcement actions during the reporting period. Public service announcement. If you have any information about these crimes or any other crimes, please contact your local RCMP office or Crime Stoppers, 1-800-222-8477. Due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, the Neepawa and Minnedosa RCMP detachments advise that they will be limiting front counter services at the detachments until further notice. We request that you contact each detachment 476-7340 Neepawa or 867-2916 Minnedosa to inquire about criminal record checks or to file a report. Leave a message if needed and it will be checked out the following business day. Oh, we have the looking back years. 1951. Edith Sumner wins the Fenwicks contest. Miss Edith Sumner, winner of the Fenwicks Public Speaking Contest, who won the right to represent the district in the Kiwanis Club Public Speaking Contest in Winnipeg, receives the Fenwicks Trophy from the sponsor, A.F. Higgins. Congratulations. That was in 1951. So this is by Casper Warenhan, Neepawa Banner Press. And we'll start with 110 years ago. Tuesday, May 23rd, 1911. Another of the pioneers of Neepawa District was called hence last week in the person of William Walker of Salisbury, who died on Thursday, May 18th, aged 76 years, 2 months, and 8 days. Interment took place on Saturday in the Arden Cemetery. The late Mr. Walker came west with his wife and family from Howick, Ontario in 1871, being accompanied by his brothers John Q, now of Bozeman, and Hugh, deceased. They'd stopped at Portage la Prairie for some years and eventually located at Salisbury about 1880, where Mr. Walker and his large family of boys have done a large share in converging the Virgin Prairie into agricultural and homes. 100 years ago, Friday, May 20th, 1921. Jas Forsyth, a centenarian of Strathclair, is dead. Rest in peace. 90 years ago, Friday, May 22nd, 1931. Effective June the 1st, the Canadian National Railway will reduce the service to 2 trips per week between Neepawa, Beulah, leaving Neepawa's Mondays and Fridays and returning Tuesdays and Saturdays on time specified in the present schedule. 80 years ago, May 20th, 1941. Considerable moving has taken place in Neepawa during the past while. Mrs. Crawshaw and family are taking up residence in the Churchill block, and the house vacated by them will be occupied by Mr. and J. Gorsline. Robert Greentree has purchased the house occupied by Mr. and Mrs. D.D. McKay, who will shortly move to the McWade House on 3rd Street, which Mr. McKay has purchased. Mr. and Mrs. R.W. Gillespie's and family have taken up residence in the Churchill block. Also, Mr. and Mrs. F.W. Sanders, Mr. and Mrs. R. Wilcox have taken up residence in one of the suites in Mrs. W. Gwynn's house. Can't imagine that today. Cute, though. 70 years ago, Thursday, May 24th, 1951. Neepawa Stagettes earned an even break in their first 2 games in the Minnedosa District Girls Fastball League. Tuesday, they won Newdale 11-10 behind the capable pitching of Miss Edith Eros. Marjorie Pyatt was the catcher. 60 years ago, Friday, May 19th, 1961. 5 awards went to one Neepawa girl and a 6th went to a classmate from Neepawa at the Brandon General Hospital graduation exercises held Thursday night in Brandon. The Reeser Prize for the highest standing in the second year was won by Miss Sharon Pasquale, daughter of Mrs. Norman Denoon and the late Frank Pasquale. She also received the Sharp Prize for Orthopedics, the McDermott Prize for Eye, Ear, Nose, and Throat, and the Finley Award for Obstetrical Nursing, as well as the Mabel E. Harrison Scholarship for the first year. Miss Joan Halliday, a fellow graduate of Neepawa Collegiate, won the prize for surgical nursing. She is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Jack Halliday. 50 years ago, Thursday, May 20th, 1971. The details of the proposed hospital expansion plan were discussed Wednesday, May 12th, when Hospital Administrator Myrtle McKenzie and Architect Pat Kakini met the Chamber of Commerce, the Hospital Board of Governors, local services clubs, and doctors. The extension is going to cost $600,000, with $170,000 of that coming from local taxes, the rest from federal and provincial grants. Of the $170,000, the town of Neepawa will be responsible for the first 20%. The remainder will be divided among the municipalities served by the hospital: Neepawa, Rosedale, Langford, half of Lansdowne, Glenella, and part of the local government district of Alonza. 40 years ago, Thursday, May 21st, 1981. Approval has been granted for Canadian National Railways to build a 2.1-mile link with the CPR west of Franklin, an abandoned 16-mile track north and west from Neepawa. A symbol for Neepawa souvenirs and a town map were among the main topics discussed last Thursday, May 14th, at the first public meeting of the Neepawa Centennial Committee. The main concern was the possible construction of a monument to symbolize Neepawa, similar to Glenborough's Camel and McCrory Skeeler. Ideas range from a large tractor representing Manitoba's machinery capital to a cornucopia as the land of plenty, or an Indian. And it never came to be. 30 years ago, Monday, May 20th, 1991. 15 NACI students were attending class last week as a result of a mass suspension. Weren't attending class last week as a result of a mass suspension. The students were handed a 4-day suspension as a result of consuming alcohol at a school-sponsored function. 30 years ago, 1991. 20 years ago, Monday, May 21st, 2001. A Gladstone woman is one of 8 Manitobans named to the Order of Manitoba. Gwen Wishart was a nurse at 7 Regions in Gladstone from 1955 until her retirement as Director of Acute Care in 1989. She was also founding member of the local volunteer ambulance service, which she worked for 21 years. Wishart received a Governor General's Exemplary Service Medal for 20 years with the ambulance service. Because she didn't have the necessary license to drive the ambulance, she partnered on calls. Wishart also served on Central Manitoba's Regional Health Authority, District Health Advisory Board, and on a palliative care committee. Also named to the Order of Manitoba were former Manitoba MP Lloyd Axworthy, former Manitoba Premier Gary Filmon, and author Carol Shields, University of Manitoba Economics Professor Emeritus Dr. Clarence Barber. Musician and women's rights activist Heather Bishop, former Puckatawagan Band Chief Hyacinth Colomb, C-O-L-O-M-B, and trade union activist Richard Martin. And that's Maverick Party establishes itself in Dauphin Swan River, Neepawa riding. By Aaron Devereaux, Neepawa Banner Press. Local voters will likely have one more option available to them on the ballot for the next federal election. On Thursday, May 12th, the Maverick Party announced the formation of a federal electoral district in the Dauphin Swan River, Neepawa constituency. This is the first EDA the party has established in Manitoba and is a precursor to ensuring a candidate is in place for the next national election. The Maverick Party was launched in September of 2020 and describes itself as an alternate voting option for Western Canadians, and to represent the best interests of the West. The plan moving ahead is for Maverick candidates to be run from Manitoba all the way to British Columbia. In an email forwarded to the Banner and Press, the party noted that it would hope to function in a similar mode as to the Bloc Québécois, who strongly advocate for what is best for the province, or in Maverick's case, the Western region. We have put together a twin-track approach, meaning that we are advocating for either A, changes to the Canadian Constitution for fair and equal treatment of the West, or B, seeking to become an independent nation, noted in email response. Board of Directors has been confirmed. The first meeting of the local chapter of the Maverick Party was held via video conference last week, and during the session, representatives on the Board of Directors were agreed to and are as follows. Don Armage, President. Kevin, oh boy, look at these words. Tyszynski, Tyszynski, Vice President. Carl Treichib, Treichib, Secretary. Lori Austin, Director at Large. Chester Tuck, Director at Large. Tamara Lynch, Director at Large. The Chief Financial Officer position remains open at this time, and the team has become actively seeking a volunteer to fill this role. The message of Maverick. In an email response to the Banner and Press, Maverick Party Director at Large Tamara Lynch stated that their immediate goal is to find more volunteers to assist with the EDA. Over and above that, she stated that they hope to get their message out and about who they are, attract new members, fundraise, and find a suitable candidate. As far as outreach is concerned, this is obviously a challenge due to the pandemic and restrictions on gatherings. We had hoped to have our deputy leader, Alan Kirpan, come out for a mini tour of the Western Westman area. However, with the latest restrictions, that has been put on hold. We will continue to hold informal town hall style Zoom meetings open to anyone who wishes to attend. And I have set up a Facebook page for our EDA also. Dauphin Swan River Neepawa is currently served by Conservative MP Dan Mazur. The 44th federal election is scheduled to take place on or before October 16th, 2023. What's the latest buzz out there, Mr. B? The bees are out and about now that flowers have bloomed. This busy bee was spotted on May the 14th, collecting pollen from one of their earliest sources of food for the season, a dandelion. Photo by Diane Warner. Lots of ads in this week's paper. Community news. Working out in the field. Photo by John Drinkwater. Farm equipment has been spotted out in the fields across western Manitoba recently. Here, a tractor is seen adjacent to Highway 5 near Kelwood, Manitoba on May 17th. Neepawa Kids in the Mud program can proceed by Aaron Devereaux, Neepawa Banner Press. The return of stricter COVID-19 regulations across the province has only had a minor effect on the new cycling program set for Neepawa. Kids of Mud, KOM, is a youth cycling initiative created by the Manitoba Cycling Association and administered by a group of participating clubs. KOM is a Learn to Ride and Race campaign for kids 16 years old and younger, which teaches the basic of off-road cycling. For this year, Neepawa had partnered with the Manitoba Cycling Association to bring the program to the High Life Back 40 multi-use trail park. The plan was for there to be training sessions take place twice a week starting on Thursday, May 29th for 8 weeks, with the last scheduled ride set for June 20th. Dennis Segay, who is serving as one of the 3 local volunteers, coaches for Kids of Mud, noted that the reapplication of more stringent gathering rules within the province had them initially concerned about whether or not the course would be able to continue. Segay said, however, after deliberating with the MCA representatives via video conference on Tuesday, May the 11th, they learned that they'd be able to proceed with only a few minor changes. The most notable change saw the program split into 2 separate training sessions with a maximum of just 5 participants in each session. That change, along with the mandated social distancing rules brought forward by the province, are manageable, allowing them to go forward for the remainder of the 8-week program. Additional details on the program can be seen at www.mbcycling.ca/kids-of-mud. A new era of hockey is set to go in Neepawa. The Junior A Club announcing a new name on June the 7th by Aaron Devereaux, Neepawa Banner and Press. After almost a year of discussion, deliberation, and preparation, the Neepawa's Junior A Hockey Club is now ready to unveil its new team logo and name. The organization has announced via press release that the branding will be revealed Monday, June the 7th. The introduction of the new look will occur at 11:30 a.m. on the team's website and social media accounts. Neepawa's head coach and general manager Ken Pearson said everyone involved with the naming process is looking forward to finally showcasing the final product. I think there's a feeling of excitement. Obviously, with everything that's going on with COVID-19 restrictions, it makes some of the plans that we had for the announcement a little more reserved. But while we won't be able to have fans in attendance for the reveal, we are still going to make it an event. We're all looking forward to making that announcement, said Pearson. And as for just exactly what the name or logos and team colors will be, Pearson wasn't giving out any hints, but did say something the community will be proud of. I think the group that was tasked with putting it together did a really good job. As well, graphics designer Brooks Freeman was brought on board and helped with the design. A great job has been done to put this together, Pearson stated. There's a lot that goes into this type of change. There's a lot of meetings, emails, back and forth on something like this. Several people involved, board members, alumni, local businesses, people assisted in this. We really appreciate all the input we got on this and feel though we've come up with something that people are going to be happy with. The now former Neepawa natives decided in July of 2020 to move forward with this historic change when the board of directors announced it would retire the name as well as the logo, which was inspired by the Chicago Blackhawks branding. Along with the announcement of the new name and logo on June 7th, brand new team merchandise is expected to be immediately available for purchase. And then we have Carberry, North Cyprus, Langford. We have a story about Ben Sanderson returns home from the Western Hockey League hub by Gladwin Scott, Neepawa Banner Press. Ben Sanderson, 16 years old, son of Steve and Tracy, has returned to his home north of Wellwood after training and playing defense for the Saskatoon Blades in the Western Hockey League for 3 months. The 5'11", 196-pound defender has been playing with the Yellowhead Chiefs U15 and then U18 AAA teams for 4 years after Carberry minor hockey. His coaches Craig Geeky, Mark Walton, and Chad Facey saw considerable development. Selected by the Neepawa natives in the MJHL draft, Sanderson signed the Saskatoon December 9, 2019. He transferred from Carberry Collegiate to Saskatoon for his schooling and is currently studying online, but plans to return to graduate from Carberry in June of 22 with his school friends. Able to spend plenty of time on his studies, he now only needs one subject to graduate. When the 7 WHL teams arrived in Regina February 27th, they had 45-minute practices in the Brandt Center and were billeted in the Wakpa Towers at the University of Regina. Living facilities were excellent as Ben and 3 other rookies had single rooms, shared 2 washrooms and a kitchen and living room. Saskatoon took 9 defensemen, including 5 rookies, to the Regina hub. However, Sanderson did get plenty of playing time in 10 games, including 2 weekend games. Only 3 points separated the top 3 teams, Brandon, Winnipeg, and Saskatoon. While the future is bright, it is uncertain for Ben as he turns 17 in September and returns to training camp in Saskatoon in August. Hopefully, the WHL can return to normal play. This was awesome and a valuable learning experience, stated Sanderson. I plan to do a lot of strength training this summer. Here and There by Gladwin Scott. Manitoba Basketball Hall of Fame has announced that 6 Treeherne Tiger high school teams will be inducted Saturday, September 25th at the Victoria Inn in Winnipeg as part of their 2021 class. The Tigers, led by coach and principal Jim Hogan, won Provincial A basketball crowns in 1994-95, 96-97, 97-98, 98-99, 99-2000, and 2002 and 2003. John Tate was the assistant coach. Asked about era highlights, Hogan said, "Our first title was in 1994-95 against Hamiota, one of our arch rivals, and our 4-year consecutive run wears special memories. In 1997-98, we had 4 players, Megan Wilcox, Tammy Mahone, Carrie Turner, and Courtney D. Spielgallard, recognized at the provincial level. We lost only 6 games out of 60, and some of our main rivals and their coaches were Hamiota, Lorna Robertson, Neepawa, Carrie Hayhurst, Boissevain, Keith Forsyth, and Glenborough. There are 32 former Treeherne Tigers who are excited about attending the induction banquet. The players and parents were very dedicated and committed," said Hogan, who has lived 46 years in Trehearn after leaving Winnipeg. 2 candidates are contesting the Killarney Turtle Mountain mayoral position on June 23rd. Matt Reimer, who ran in the 2018 council election, and Merv Tweed, former MLA and retired MP, are candidates. Extreme dry conditions have caused fires in the RM of Piney, threatening Sandhills, Woodridge, and Sundown. Morden has been told to stop lawn watering due to low water in Lake Minnesota. We are lucky to sit on the Agassiz Aquifer. Republican Liz Cheney has been voted out of a leadership role in the party because she asserts that the former president lost the 2020 election by 7 million votes and that he continues to maintain it was a lie. Whatever that's got. No. The Arizona state votes are being counted a third time, although no voter fraud was determined. Community profile. Keys, Adrianson, by Gladwin Scott, Neepawa Banner Press. Keys Adrianson, who will soon celebrate his 18th birthday, is a member of the Carberry Collegiate 2021 graduating class. Keys has achieved his hunter safety certification after 2 years in the local rifle club. He also spent 4 years practicing fencing in Brandon. Rhonda Wheeler was his piano teacher for 5 years. His father, Neil, has been a positive influence in his life. Thanks to his grandmother, AJ, a travel agent, Keys has traveled widely, and including England, Scotland, Wales, and Ireland. He also really enjoys the whales and icebergs on a road trip to Alaska. Prince Edward Island and New Brunswick were highlights of Eastern Canada trip. Keys, who lives near the Camp Hughes area, would like to obtain a position in the library this summer as he has spent many hours volunteering. After graduation, Adrianson plans to study history and sociology at Brandon University. Critical thinking skills were developed by English teachers like Mike Nonis and Donica McConnell, while Reagan Dick stimulated his interest in history. Grade 6 teacher Bob Clark had a motivational influence on his development, creative writing, and another skill developed by his English teachers. And that brings us to the classifieds. Workshop and meeting area space needed for Neepawa Area Men's Shed. Neepawa Area's Men's Shed is a member of a worldwide nonprofit organization. It was created to promote wellness and mental health through participation and inclusion of mature men with similar interests. We have no affiliation with any local organizations or service clubs and are completely funded by community donations such as Miles for Mental Health and the Beautiful Plains Community Foundation. We are seeking a dedicated space within town to meet and chat over coffee with an adjoining workspace to work on small community projects that keep us active and engaged with one another. If you have such a space to donate or rent or wish to know more about Men's Shed, call Colin at 204-841-1629. There's many help wanteds, a few obituaries, service guide, real estate. We've got a couple auctions coming up. Maybe what do we got, Jeremy? 5 minutes? We'll give you a couple headlines out of the Farmer's Advocate. Brand moo on the life of the farm. Nice picture of a day-old calf was the latest addition to the herd at the Lansdowne area farm last weekend by Kira Patterson. Good picture. Oh, dry conditions are affecting 2021 seed trends, sales still strong. So this is out of the Farmer's Advocate, dated May 21st, 2021. And I'll read you this dry conditions affecting by Kira Patterson of the Farmer's Advocate. A winter light on snow and spring devoid of rain has many farmers adapting their crops to meet the dry conditions this year. Local seed suppliers Ton Seeds and Court Seeds, both based near Plumas, have seen their sale trends reflecting that. With the continued dry conditions, customers are starting to lean heavily on cereal crops, noted Ton of Ton Seeds, Todd Ton. Excessive dry conditions make all crops harder to establish, but generally wheat, barley, and oats will do a bit better than most crops. All three can be seeded a bit deeper so as to get into the moist seed bed. Tracy Court, agronomist with the Court Seeds, agreed that the cereal crops are a bit more drought resistant, adding that yellow peas have been a popular product for them this year too, which also do well in relatively dry conditions. She noted that this year's weather has caused farmers to look at more than just seed variety for durability. We have seen an increase in farming trends treating their seeds this year due to the cool spring temperatures. The cold soil temperatures will cause the plants to grow slower, so a seed treatment is recommended to protect the plant for the first few weeks of growth. The weather hasn't been the only factor influencing seed trends this year. Both Court and Ton cited commodity prices as a driving element in their 2021 sales as well. This year, most farmers are going back to basics, wheat and canola. I would attribute this to the attractive pricing available for next fall, Court explained. There has also been an increase in barley and yellow pea acre. These crops had strong price rallies earlier this year, and new local purchasers for yellow peas have renewed interest in this crop. Ton noted that barley sales really spiked for them over the winter due to strong pricing. And now that most all crops have great pricing, it seems to be wheat and canola that are gaining the most ground, he added. Overall, Court noted that their sales have been fairly consistent compared to previous years, while Ton noted that they've had an increase in sales this year. The spring 2021 sales season has been very strong, definitely one of our highest volume seasons ever. Ton stated a lot of this increase has been from the introduction of some new products over the past year or two: AAC Starbuck wheat, CDC Arberg oats, AB Cadillac barley, and a number of existing new canola varieties. We are also very fortunate to have a loyal customer base that trusts the new products that we are bringing out will be beneficial to their operations. Manitoba Crop Pest Update submitted by Manitoba Agriculture. The first provincial pest report for 2021 suggests that flea beetles are emerging. Striped pea beetles, the earlier emerging of the two common flea beetles in canola, are quite noticeable in some areas. Monitor early emerging from canola for feeding flea beetles and other early insects. Diamondback Moths. As for long-term forecasts, experts are keeping an eye out on the diamondback moth. A network of pheromone-baited traps will be monitored across the Canadian Prairie provinces in May and June to determine how early and what level populations of the diamondback moth arrive. So far, only one diamondback moth in total has been captured in the traps. That has been from a trap near Austin, Manitoba. There is no evidence of movement of populations of diamondback moths into Manitoba at this point. Armyworms. 30 traps for armyworms are set up this year to monitor for migration of the armyworm moths into Manitoba. Armyworms can potentially be a concern in cereals and foliage grasses, while large numbers migrate into Manitoba. So far, only one armyworm moth has been found in the traps, that being from the eastern region. Red Spur Enterprises Limited continued to evolve with the times. By Micah Waddell, Farmers Advocate. Manitoba agriculture business Red Spur Enterprises Limited and Accutest is a leading provider of pedigree seed sales, custom seed cleaning, seed treating, and seed testing based in Rivers, Manitoba for the farmers of Western Manitoba. The original cleaning plant was destroyed by fire in 1974 and was rebuilt with a grand opening 2 years later. An addition of a new office building in 1987 allowed for the addition of Accutest seed labs, which specializes in testing a variety of crops for germination, vigor, purity, and a number of other services such as thousand kernel weight and vomit toxin. Red Spur was established in 2004 and continues to offer a diversified mix of products and services to the agricultural community. Red Spur also provides bulk grain storage, warehousing, and distribution to the area. Red Spur and Acute Test have a large customer base across Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and into the United States. Since 2004, Red Spur has seen year-over-year growth in volume of business and has valued partners in Red Fern Farm Services and Sperling Industries. A large number of trucks hauling variety of seeds go through the facility starting in the fall with delivery of seed for cleaning and treating before retailing it to farmers for planting. Red Spur handles a wide variety of crops including cereals, pulses, oilseeds, and forages. Red Spur is very excited to have partnered with Roquet, Canada, the new pea processing plant located in Portage la Prairie, as one of their their storage locations. Red Spur Acute Test are accredited with Canadian Seed Institute, Seed Canada, Organic Producers of Manitoba, and the Agricultural Warehouse Standards Association. Red Spur is also a member of the Canadian Seed Growers Association, CCAN, Cantera Seeds, and FP Genetics and Seed Depot. And that will close out. In the back of it, we got the Laba family sets course for Neepawa. And it was a picture of the Laba family of Mountain Road taking load of wood via ox team to Neepawa in order to exchange for groceries. This occurrence took place in November of 1908. At left is John's outfit, and Metro is in front load, and Fred is standing at the right. So thank you for being part of our Neepawa Banner Press reads the NACTV reads the news for Friday, May the 21st, and we'll see you all here next week. Thank you.